And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Before we do get into today's video, as always, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. So I hope you guys are all okay. We've got a lot to go through in today's video. We've got a really weird transfer story to discuss in just a moment. And as well as a potential incoming, which is quite exciting actually, just emerged in the last few minutes around Celtic, which I want to go through and give my 2 cents on. But yeah, so the first one is with regards to an MLS player called Matus Bero, who's a Polish midfielder. This could be the potential Matt O'Reilly replacement, of course, because Matt O'Reilly's very much looking like he's going to go to Brighton at some point, if he does accept personal terms, of course. I don't see why he'd want to go there, but money talks, of course. And this guy here, Matus Bero of LAFC, has been in discussions with Celtic over a potential move. So Celtic has set its sights on Matus Bero of LAFC, with discussions to secure the Polish midfielder already in progress. So Polish outlet Makazu report that Celtic will need to spend 8 to 10 million euros to secure the 22-year-old, but personal terms are not expected to be an issue. So Bogus has been a standout performer in the MLS this season, notching 13 goals and 5 assists for LAFC. His impressive performances have also made him a likely candidate for the upcoming Polish national team call-up for the Nations League matches in September, having previously represented the under-21 side. With Matt O'Reilly heading for the exit door, it seems that Celtic view Bogus as a possible replacement for the Danish midfielder. So Brendan Rodgers has previously said that Celtic would look to bring in a midfielder and another if Matt O'Reilly does depart. It's one to keep an eye on, with reports in Poland suggesting that negotiations are quite advanced. So this is quite an interesting transfer story there. So Brendan Rodgers' comments, of course, were made towards the start of the transfer window. We've since then signed Paulo Bernardo as our midfielder, and he said he will sign another midfielder if Matt O'Reilly does leave. So now this interest does indicate that Matt O'Reilly is very much on his way out of the club, because Bogus is being linked to us quite heavily now. And to be honest with you, this transfer is quite exciting. I think he looks like a very good player. It almost seems like he plays a little bit further up the pitch than Matt O'Reilly, more as like a centre forward or attacking midfielder rather than a midfielder in general, like a centre midfielder. He plays a little bit further up the pitch. So a little bit different to O'Reilly, I suppose. Of course, O'Reilly is quite versatile as well. I imagine this guy is pretty good in all areas of the pitch. Yeah, 13 goals and 5 assists is quite an impressive tally. Of course, Matt O'Reilly is very good at getting goals, especially last season. He was superb. Scored a lot of goals for us last campaign. And looks like Bogus could replicate that. Of course, I don't think he's going to be as good as Matt O'Reilly, but definitely an interesting replacement if he was to come in, if Matt O'Reilly was to leave. So signing that does kind of fill me with a little bit of joy. I think he looks like a very decent player from what I've seen and what I've heard on this across social media about this player. Of course, I'm not a massive MLS watcher. I don't watch LAFC a lot, but he looks like a very good player. 22 years old, a year younger than Matt O'Reilly as well, and I'm sure he has a lot of potential that he can maybe fulfill at Celtic if he was to join us. Of course, for me, my ideal situation is to keep hold of Matt O'Reilly rather than signing this guy, but we have to be realistic sometimes, and I feel like Brighton are very much interested in him if the Billy Gilmore transfer to Napoli does go through. So there's a lot of moving parts in this whole transfer story. We found our replacement. We've identified a player that could replace Matt O'Reilly, which is definitely a nice feeling to have, because it feels like we won't be as panicky if Matt O'Reilly does leave, and it gives us an option straight away to go in for, rather than loaning some player from some random club with no buy option and then regretting it after he has a great season at the club. So it's definitely an interesting situation to put ourselves in. But there's a really weird transfer story that has emerged today as well, which I need to cover, because I was kind of surprised when I read it, to be honest with you, and that is the fact that Manchester City have identified Celtic's Kyogo to replace Julian Alvarez, who completed a move to Atletico Madrid earlier this summer. So the 29-year-old Japanese international is one of 2 forwards currently on City's shortlist, the other being a younger prospect. So Manchester City's immediate focus remains on finalising the re-signing of Ilkay Gundogan, who is set to leave Barcelona this summer. Once this deal is secured, the club plans to shift their attention to a new striker. So Kyogo has emerged as an option for City, and he does have a few connections to the club. He was signed by Ange Postecoglou for Celtic, who have managed Yokohama F. Marinos, another club in the City Football Group network, and he has worked under City's assistant coach Juan Mar Lilo at Vissel Kobe. So earlier this summer, Kyogo also changed agents, which seemed a bit odd given the fact he just signed a new long-term deal at Celtic last summer. So if Man City do come chapping for Kyogo, you'd imagine he'd be away if Celtic's asking price is met. But Sam Lee said on its LB podcast that Celtic might not even play ball, saying that they had to knock back a few bids for the striker last week. It's a massive move for Kyogo, but it would be unthinkable of Celtic to allow him and Matt O'Reilly leave in the same window. So that last point is the big one there. I can't see a world in which Celtic let Kyogo and Matt O'Reilly leave in the same transfer window. That would be suicide. Well, that'd be football suicide, because we'll lose two very key players for us. Of course, we spoke about the striker situation as enough as it is this summer. Of course, we signed Ida since then, but that puts us back in the same situation. We only have one striker, so it makes no sense to let Kyogo go. But interest in Kyogo is very interesting, especially from Manchester City. Wasn't his best campaign last year, Kyogo. He did struggle to adapt to the new style of play under Brendan Rodgers, but he kind of picked up form a little bit towards the end. A few injuries here and there as well. But we know how good Kyogo can be on his day, and having a good season under his belt. And imagine Kyogo in a Pep Guardiola system. It's pretty crazy to watch. I think he did amazing stuff for them when Haaland's not playing. Of course, he would be a backup striker. Let's not kid ourselves here, but I think it's a good option for City. To be fair, of course, I don't want to lose him, but I'm thinking, let's imagine him in a City setup under Pep Guardiola would be quite scary thought. To be fair, but I'd rather keep hold of Kyogo. Of course, he's a key player for us, and can't let go Matt O'Reilly and Kyogo in the same transfer window. That is football suicide right there. But it's always worth talking about these situations, because that's a very interesting transfer story that Manchester City have shown interest in Kyogo. Now, look, we've got that's pretty much it for today's video in terms of transfers. I want to know your thoughts, to be honest, as a whole of this transfer window. What do you make of the whole transfer window? What areas do we need to improve upon still? Of course, centre-half is a big one. I think everyone is in agreement that's a big area in the pitch that needs to be improved. And of course, left-back still as well. And then maybe a right-winger still. I'm pretty content with Nicholas Kuhn being our starting right-winger for the season, or at least until January, and then we can maybe reevaluate that choice. But for now, he looks like a pretty good player. He looks like he might have a great breakout year for us this season. So looking forward to seeing what he can do. But yeah, centre-half still a crucial area, and a left-back. And we've got about just over a week left of the transfer window, so things are getting pretty tight. We haven't got any time to waste when it comes to that. And the thought of Matt O'Reilly leaving and us having to find a replacement is quite scary, but it's good that we have that Polish midfielder as an option as well there from the MLS. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video down below in the comment section. And as always, make sure you do drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel for more Celtic content, because as I mentioned, we've got a week left of this transfer window, and things aren't going to get any more quieter. It's going to get pretty busy and pretty hectic in the next week or so with regards to Celtic transfer news. So make sure you are subscribed to keep up to date with all the news across the club. Yeah, so thank you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.